Hello, business building warrior. If you're listening to this episode near the time when it first came out, hey, it's the weekend. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. And to help you make your weekend even more impactful for your business, we've compiled some great information from some recent conversations we've had with students in our community who are actively trying to build beautiful businesses through e commerce. That's right. This is a podcast that's all about using the internet creatively to launch and grow the business of your dreams. And hundreds of our interview episodes, if you scroll back in time, are with the students who have followed our proven Amazon course strategies to do just that. They've built a beautiful business, and we talked to them about the road that they were on to get to that point. So you can go back and listen to some of those episodes if you'd like, scroll back in time. But today, what I have for you is, like I said, recent conversations with students from our community who are at all levels of experience. Because what we do every Monday around here, around 5 o'clock Eastern time, we've been doing it for a long time, is we go live on Zoom and anyone can join in and ask us anything about their business, about e-commerce, about our community, about our coaching program, about our courses, or about some challenges they're facing in their business. So these Saturday episodes are a nice random mix up of conversational topics. We've done our best to break down a little bit about what you're about to experience in the description for today's episode. So you can check that out if you'd like. But it's going to be some really good people, some of your fellow business building warriors hopping on a live call with us, hanging out and having conversations with us. Most of our Saturday episodes, that's what we do. It's that recent recording. You'll also hear from time to time an older episode that we've revisited, pulled out some really good nuggets of information and broken it down into bite-sized pieces so you can take it along with you on the weekend, enjoy whatever it is that you're doing on Saturday or over the rest of the weekend, and then be ready to hit the week with some new energy and ideas and motivation because you hung out with your friends at Silent Sales Machine Radio and listened to some good inspiration. So thanks for being the best part of our show. We're honored that you spend some time listening to our show each week. And if you want to leave us a review, we'd certainly appreciate that. We'll jump over into the content in just a moment, but we love those iTunes 5-star reviews. We love those likes and those comments, all that stuff. It's so great. It helps us spread the word. We have no marketing budget for this show. It's all about you spreading the word. And we recently flew past 6 million downloads on iTunes alone because you do such a great job of telling others about silentjim.com. That's all you got to do. Send there, say, hey, these guys know their stuff when it comes to e-commerce and selling online and Amazon. Go check out some of those shows. We appreciate when you do that. Thank you so much for that. Well, let's jump over and see what the team's put together for us today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jim is not able to make it today. He's got some other things going on, so he's asked me to sit in for him. Feel free to turn on your cameras and raise your hand or ask a question in the chat. But this is the Monday afternoon meetup, and we're going to answer some questions today. Some other people will probably be joining us as we go, and we'll let them in. But let me know what's on your mind today. We are a community in the silentjim.com. It has all of the links to all of the things that I'm going to talk about here. We are a community of e-commerce sellers that is about 73,000 strong, I think, now in the My Silent Team Facebook group, which is probably where you heard about this meeting. And some of you have been here before, and some of you, this is your first time. So welcome, all of you. I'm Robin Joy Olson, and I'm your host today. We have, like I said, the Facebook group where you can ask questions anytime you like. The Proven Amazon course, if you're not familiar with that, at provenamazoncourse.com. That's where we have some courses and some quick start guides and some content that can help you get started in e-commerce or continue on if you've already gotten started. There's a deep library of information there that can help you along your journey. We have the Proven Conference that's coming up in May 23rd through 25th in Orlando at TheProvenConference.com. If you are not going to be there, I hope you're all going to be there. It is an amazing event. They're going to be I think there are going to be 50 breakout sessions this year, bigger than ever. There are already 700 people registered. It's going to be an amazing event. So I hope everybody can make it there. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. Let me tell you a little bit about the Kickstart program. If you're brand new to Amazon, if you're brand new to e-commerce, Amazon FBA is a place where we usually start people with the replans program. And to get started in that, we have a little course. If you're a member of the Proven Amazon course, you can get it for $30. It's a 4-week course called the Kickstart Bootcamp. I'm usually the coach who handles that and teaches that course. And I have 4 live sessions with you, Q&A sessions as a group. Now, each group is a smaller group of people who are just getting started. We're going to take you through making sure that your Amazon account got opened, make sure your Keepa account got opened, and then we're going to go and find one item. We're going to go through this repetition one time and kind of let you know what's involved in sending something into Amazon. We're going to show you how to choose the item. We're going to show you how to prep and ship the item to Amazon's warehouse and put it up for sale. And then we're going to talk about how to start building your foundation of items that will start helping you make some profit in the future. So we welcome any of you who would like to join that. Just ask for support, or you can go to silentjimdotcom/kickstart. Is everybody familiar with silentjim.com and the podcast, the Silent Sales Machine Radio podcast? You can find it at silentjim.com, and you can find it on any of your podcast apps as well. So if there's something that I can help you with, feel free to ask a question or raise your hand, put a question in the chat. Brian, you got your hand up. Feel free to unmute and let us know what's going on.
Hey, Robin.
Hey.
Hi, Dave, and everyone else. No one's really saying anything at this point, question-wise. So, me, I'll chime in. But I guess I'm really excited to. First of all, I'm excited to go to the conference in May, and I'm kind of just keeping my sales, inventory, expenses, everything at not a minimum necessarily, but like this is a lot for me to afford to get to the conference and be in the workshop beforehand. So that's where I am with that. But like I'm truly, truly excited to come away with a ton of knowledge. That's my goal after this conference in May, and then to come back home to lovely Ohio and ramp it up and get it going. So that's all I have right now. I'm just really excited to see everyone and be there and just be a sponge and learn as much as possible from you and Brian and everyone else. So.
Well, great, Brian. We're excited to see you there too. I'm really excited to get to meet you in person. So be sure and flag us down and make sure that you meet us in person. We want to meet all of you that are at the conference as much as we can. We want to meet all of you. So flag us down, flag us down. Great. So that's a good point too, Brian. Sometimes you have some expenses that are going to kind of sneak up on you. Sorry, I'm letting people in as we go here. They're going to, when you're not making a whole lot of money in the beginning, you're kind of building your platform, you're building your foundation. And sometimes you have to put in some extra expenses like going to the conference, but they're going to be worth it. It's going to pay back in multiples what you spend to get yourself there. So I'm really excited to see what you get out of the conference. Brian and I have what we call WPAs, worth the price of admission. And I don't know if you've heard us talk about it before, but we have a little notepad going on our phones all day, every day at the conference or any conference that we go to. And we kind of put on that note, if there was nothing else that we got out of coming to the conference, it would have been worth it to get here just for this one thing. And we usually come up with a whole list of things that make it worth it. So I would encourage you all to do that same thing. Keep track of those things that we're the minimum things, and so that you can see how much you're actually getting out of the conference when you go there. Thanks, Brian. Rich Andrews, how are you doing? Good to see you.
All right, hanging in there. I had a question. Like, I keep hearing about, especially with the segments with Jeff Schick, have
Mhm.
basically a chain of custody, I guess, with the stuff you buy. You didn't buy it from like Al's Discount Barn or out of the back of a truck or something like that. So saving the receipts and all that sort of stuff, what form should that take? How do you organize it? I mean, I assume you scan them, but how do you then organize them? The system has something to handle that in the future, but it's not here yet. So what does that look like, I guess?
I'll tell you, if you asked 100 different people in this community, they probably give you 100 different answers. So I can tell you, what we do. What we scan them, of course, because they fade and there's no reason
Right.
to keep the paper. Amazon's going to want a soft copy if they ever want it from you. So we scan it and then we keep it in a folder on our computer named for the shipment that it goes with. So that if I ever go back and I need to find the shipment that it was, we keep it organized that way. So
Okay.
there's an idea that helps you, but always keep them in soft copy. Don't keep the paper that's not necessary at all, because Amazon's going to want a soft copy if they ever ask you for it as
Yeah,
well.
only lasts 3 or 4 months anyway, and the thing fades to nothing.
Yeah, exactly. When we first started, we had this like grocery bag full of all these receipts that
The
we
shoebox,
were
yeah.
very good about getting them scanned. Yeah, and then we're like, no, we need to do this as the shipment goes out now. So
Right.
yeah, so that's the hint that I have.
Okay. All
Does
right.
that
Thank
help?
you.
All right, David, how are you today? What can we help you with?
Good, Robin. Pleasure to talk to you. So I've been a newbie for 2.5 years. I like listening to Jim talk about making sure you have margin in your life, in a lot of respects of your life, so that you can dedicate time to it, which I finally have in my life now. I'm kind of
Oh,
2 months into like committing to the 6-month plan. I love listening to you and Brian and your podcasts, getting to 100 replens. And I think I've got kind of a good system going right now. I guess my question though is, you and Brian talk a lot about getting to 100. When you say 100, are you talking about 100 tests or 100 products that actually ASINs that actually become replens? Because like I don't seem to have a problem finding good things to test. I'm trying to get a sense of like how many of them are going to pan out. Is it like 1 in 3, 1 in 10? I don't have a good sense for that right now. So I can kind of get, raise the bar or raise my target so that I end up with 100 that are replenishable at the end. So, and there's probably not a one answer for that, but I just wanted to know if you had a sense of like, what percentage of tests should I expect are successful?
well, I'm flattered that you have been listening to us. Let me see if I can help you understand what we've been talking about. First of all, congratulations for hanging in there for a couple of years, even though you haven't quite been ready. And we know that once you're ready, it's going to be an intense, focused effort for about 6 to 9 months, right? So when you're ready to do that, you need to get it done, get in there and get after it. So sounds like you're really aware of that and getting ready to really put your efforts there and whatever it takes, right? So as far as the 100 ASINs, what we're talking about now, this is the name of the workshop that we do, the Path to 100 ASINs. That we're talking about replenishable ASINs, and that's a fairly arbitrary number, somewhere around 100 replenishable ASINs. If you have an average selling cost of about $25 each, then you should be around $10,000 to $15,000 a month. That happens often in less than 6 months, but sometimes it takes a year. It just depends on what you're finding, what's coming to you, what you have available to you, and what you have time to put into it. So that's the answer to that question. As far as how many should pass and become replenishable, that's going to vary. That's going to change over time. In the first couple of months, the first several weeks, we see that not very many of them become replenishable. But as time goes by, more and more of them become replenishable, to the point where after, if you're consistent and you get about 5 to 10 tests sent in every month, we've seen that people get to about, a 80 to 90% success rate in their tests. But it takes some time and some experience and some depth. You have to look at a lot of ASINs to start finding the ones you've been looking for. In the meantime, take what comes to you, right? So that's going to be fewer of them that become replenishable. But you're going to always want to keep that testing going, because even if they become replenishable, they may not stay replenishable, at least all the time. So you may say, okay, I'm going to back off of this one. Something happened to this one. Anything can happen to any ASIN, and I'm going to hold off on this week and not send some in. So you're going to have up and down. So you want to always be testing. But once in the beginning, your test, it's all it is tests, right? Because it's all you have in there. Then a couple of those become replenishable, and you keep testing and more, and pretty soon your replenishments become more than your tests, right? At that point, that's when you start seeing real growth. That's when you start seeing that you've looked at enough ASINs, you've tested enough ASINs, and you're starting to get enough experience to keep your machine running regularly. So it's a big difference between everything's a test and just a couple replenishables to there are, just still 5 to 10 tests, but many, many more replenishables. So that's what you're looking for. And it will be slower in the beginning. I promise you, it always is. Everybody I've seen has only had a little bit of them turning into replenishments in the first few weeks. But remember that you're looking to go deep into that forest and to find kind of those ASINs that are not just sitting on top, right? You got to look at a lot of ASINs, right? So I would encourage you to just keep that consistency going. Expect that it's going to be slow in the beginning, but it will get better. It will get faster. It will get more successful. Keep in mind also that every one of those tests theoretically is a sale, and that sale is valuable, whether you made profit on it or not. Very valuable. It helps your account health rating. It helps your IPI score, gives you a chance to get feedback from customers that helps your metrics, and it gives you experience. So every one of those tests is valuable, even if it doesn't become replenishable. So keep that in mind as well. Hope that helps answer your question.
Yeah, that helps. I think, and along those lines too, because I've heard Jim talk about it a lot, and I've heard you and Brian talk about it a lot, and your methods are very similar, except in one respect where you and Brian kind of map out this 4-week path, and you're lowering the price a third of the way per week until you get to your break-even price. Whereas Jim will talk about, like, he'll put it in and not touch it for a month.
Yeah.
Do you go back and forth with him about it? Is that just personal preference? Is that just
that's
your
just
way to
personal
get your money
preference.
back quicker?
Yeah, no, that's just personal preference. So experiment and see what works for you. But keep in mind that what we've put together with the 3-step check and the 4-week test is really for people who are just starting to build their foundation. Once you have that foundation of about 100 replenishable ASINs built, then you have a book of business and you can take some more risks because you've got some balance. You can say, like I've seen Jim says, oh, this has only got 7 sales rank drops per month, but I did it anyway, and here's what happened. Well, he could because he's already got a foundation. It's not ASIN by ASIN by ASIN. So when we use the 3-step check and the 4-week test, we're usually using it with people who don't have that foundation built yet. And it's kind of ASIN by ASIN by ASIN. So there's not really a balance there to get your averages to work out for you until you kind of have a kind of critical mass, right? So yeah, and it's totally personal preference. We're just giving you ideas to try. It's your business and you're going to do what you decide to do. But I would say whatever method that you try, give it a fair chance. Go all the way, a few weeks with it at least to make sure that you've given it a fair chance to see whether it's going to work for you. If you pop from here to there to here to there to here to there, then you got a little bit happening, but not a whole lot of anything, right?
Yep. Okay.
So,
Well, thank you very much.
you. Brian, you're shaking your hand. You want to ask another question?
Yeah, just for fun. It's a little side note, but it does kind of coincide with Amazon and everything, and Jim's theory about selling above buy box. getting things fast. Well, I was a guilty consumer of that yesterday. My wife lost a pendant that is actually meaningful to her in the garden.
Mm.
She was in the garden for 4 hours, and I'm talking the front yard, side yard, backyard. Who knows where this thing is? It's like the size of a quarter.
Oh,
It's very precious to her, and so I'm like, okay, well, let's get a metal detector. And I went on Amazon and like, what's the quickest one I can get?
yeah,
Today. I bought it. It came in a few hours, which was really
yeah.
crazy. I didn't overspend too much, but that goes to his theory of, the whole people need stuff fast, which is why the above buy box works. When you have the foundation that you said, Rob, and when you already have a good foundation, then you can start playing with that, I think, a little more. When you're first starting out, I don't think you want to go overboard with that because you want to get those sales and increase your health and all that stuff. But I haven't found the pendant yet.
Oh, well, I hope you can find it. That sucks.
Yeah.
Ho- Hopefully she'll be able to find it. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for the comment there too, though, Brian. It is true that often people will find the ones that are close to them, and there are like 150. I don't know how many warehouses. I can't remember exactly how many warehouses in the U.S. FBA warehouses that are closer to some people in the country than others. So, if you are looking for something that you can get same day or overnight, often people will pay a little more to get that. Keep in mind also that because there are so many warehouses, something that's happened in the last couple of years is we have seen that different prices and different sellers are showing in the buy box in different places in the country. Michelle, welcome. She said, hi, Robin. Had a call with Amazon Seller Liaison today, and they were suggesting the Seller Central automated pricing feature. They said, we're 100% in control of setting the parameters. That is true, but I don't find that most people in this community use that repricer. Amazon has a completely different motivation to get sales than we have. So we rarely use their tools for that sort of thing. I don't know of anybody in this community. It doesn't mean they're not some of them there because I don't know everybody in this community, but I don't know of anybody who actually uses that. It's kind of clunky to me anyway, and it's difficult for me to see exactly what's going on. So I don't use it, but you can certainly test it out. I mean, it's your business. See what you think. If you're not listening to the podcast, you're missing some really good stuff, man. There's some success stories in there that will inspire you. This is how we got started in the business. Brian was driving down the road to his job in the middle of winter, and he found Jim's podcast through some other podcasts. And then he heard one podcast that really struck him. There was a woman named Carolyn who was homeless before she started this business. And her story was how she was able to buy a home for herself and her children through using the principles in the Proven Amazon course. So he was inspired. And then he started listening more and more. And then eventually I got involved because he started making some money and started finding some success. So I was like, oh, so how's that thing going for you? Michelle, yes, you got your hand up. Unmute yourself. What can we answer for you?
So I saw the message come across from Jimmy today that he's added 2 new modules to the replans 2 course.
I saw that too.
Just was wondering what was up with the new Keepa stuff that I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So
The new Keepa stuff.
I think that that's what it was about. The reason that he added modules is because Keepa has added some metrics or.
Oh yeah. Keepa has added some metrics over the last year. One of the things that's been added is the number of sales. Amazon reports on some ASINs, a certain percentage of ASINs, the number of sales that they've had it's like over 50 sales, over 100 sales. So that can be kind of valuable. And I have not seen what Jimmy has put in there, but Jimmy is really, really understands this stuff and he's really good at explaining it. So yeah, I'm anxious to go see that as well. But yeah, if you look at Keepa, there are actually quite a few. I think there's a hazmat filter in there now. So there are a few new things and they're always putting new things in there. So yeah, in fact, Brian and I, the conference and the workshop are keeping us pretty busy, but the advanced sourcing using Keepa, we're doing some updates on that as well. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have that out. We hoped to have it out before the conference, but that's not going to happen. All of a sudden, the conference is in like weeks. So,
yeah, I have the number of sales. I do have that turned on now. It's the chart that goes in between the two original ones. And it's kind of just because I'm learning the program, it's interesting to see like a product that's got like, maybe it says it has 20 drops a month. Keepa's that, right? And then that chart is saying Amazon is reporting 100 a month. And so you kind of have to
find that to be that unusual because the sales rank drops is probably the very minimum. Yeah. So we have always known that that's a very minimum number, but it's a number you can pretty much count on. So this will give you another clue, another thing to put into your analysis of whether you want to test that ASIN or not.
Okay. And then I had another question because I asked a question in the Facebook group and Jim answered me, but I didn't really understand, but I didn't actually circle back to follow up. So I had said something like, what does it mean when Keepa shows sales?
Keepa
doesn't show sales, right? So the reason I was confused is because I've been watching his little videos for the above the buy box things. And so he points to like a little point in the graph and says, look, this is me. This is my, and then he's talking about a sale at the same time. And so in my mind, I just sort of connected those two and thought it was the same thing. And so what Keepa is doing is they're just basically reporting the prices that people have set.
Yes.
Okay.
It's historical pricing. It's not necessarily sales, but when it's your inventory, you know whether it's sold at that price or not. So he knows that he made a sale at that price.
Got it. Yeah.
Because he has the inventory. Yeah.
My question was, I had found a product and it was really the Keepa graph was curious because I just didn't know what to make of it. It had a very steady buy box. And the FBA sellers were all just right on the buy box, like over like a year's time. The FBM sellers were all way above the buy box and the opposite. And so I just didn't know what would you think of a product? Like what's going on with that? Is it like a brand that's selling like right at
I would say I don't really pay that much attention to FBM sellers. If there are FBA sellers on the listing, I don't usually pay that much attention to FBM sellers. When you're selling at FBM, you have to get that shipping in there somehow. It's usually more expensive for you to ship it than it would be for Amazon to pay a fulfillment fee, right? So I usually don't pay too much attention to that. But even if it's nice and steady and there are a whole bunch of sellers there, doesn't mean you can't test it a little bit above that and see if you can't get some replenishables above that price. Just because it's not showing that price doesn't mean people aren't selling it at a higher price, right?
Okay.
You got to test. Got to test. Had a question over here about the Proven Conference. It's TheProvenConference.com is the website. And there is a cost to come to the conference, but if you go to TheProvenConference.com, there are scholarships. So if you're new to this community, we are happy to pay your way. So go there, there's a link and you can get a scholarship. Just fill out some questions there and they will let you into the conference for free if you can get yourself there. There's also a great room rate. I think it's $129 a month. Yeah, $129 a month, a night. $129 a month, that'd be really good. Perspective, right? $129 a night, and it's at the SeaWorld Resort. So very nice hotel. But yeah, if you can get yourself there, we're going to get you in. So go to that website, fill out the scholarship. Sorry, fill out the scholarship for that, and be sure and register so that they are ready for you when you come in. There are going to be a ton of people. So yeah. Thanks for that question.
I'll ask another question if nobody's going to ask a
Go
question.
for it, Michelle. You go for it.
Okay, so can you talk me through the low inventory fees? Like when we're just starting out and testing, are
Okay.
we like at risk for those fees if
No, it's going to go in your previous sales. So if you haven't sold that ASIN before, you're not going to get a low inventory fee when you test it. Okay. Also, you've had an account open for less than a year, right?
Mhm.
I don't believe the people who have less than a year are getting that low inventory fee.
Oh, got it.
So-
Okay.
So you get a bonus.
Okay, nice.
Good questions. What else comes up? Anybody? Brian, yes.
Yeah, speaking on that kind of line, I have a bunch of inventory, like say for instance, that I tested, sold, it was okay, blah blah blah, or whatever. But I've got a bunch of inactive out of stock, a few pages worth of zero and inactive out of stock. There's two options. You can close and delete or delete and something else. I can't remember, but like how to just get rid of that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So
Okay.
again, this is one of those things that if you ask 10 people in the community, 10 people are going to give you 10 different answers.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what we do. You can close and you should close at least, because it's going to hurt your IPI to just leave those out there and be zeros.
Right.
You can close it and leave it at zero until you decide to open it and put some more inventory in there if you ever do. However, we delete it. We completely delete the item out of our inventory if we're not going to replenish it in the near future. And let me just talk through why that's what we do. A lot of people just close if they know it's seasonal or something like that. But the reason we delete is, well, there's several reasons. Number one, it's just junky. And I don't like junk in my inventory. I got too much stuff to keep track of anyway in my inventory. Number two, some people worry about if something is returned that I had deleted the ASIN. Well, we don't worry about it because it just goes into stranded inventory, and we can just relist it right from there. But the biggest reason that we like to delete it is because if you have that ASIN in your inventory, even if it's closed and you have zero inventory, and there is a compliance issue with that ASIN, you're going to get hit with it just like every other seller that has that in their catalog. So I don't really appreciate getting an IP complaint on something that I don't even have an inventory in. So I just delete it. Your history's still there. You can still run your reports to see what ASINs you have had. And I would encourage everybody to keep every ASIN that they have ever tested, or even that they have a source for. We keep everything that we even have a source for, whether it's test worthy or not, in some place outside of Amazon, so that you can always go back to that and go and resource out of that same information, because things change and you have ASINs that have sources. So always do that. But that's what we do. We delete.
There are two options though. And I'm wondering, I know you get 10 different answers, but I'm going to kind of rely on you for this one, because I forget without looking at it, but it's like close and delete, or delete and something else. There's two different options.
Yeah, it's actually just close is the one option, or it's delete product and listing.
And you would suggest
Delete product and listing.
Yeah. And then if you ever want to get that ASIN again, you can just create a new
Relist it just like you did the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me one more time. Delete and what is it?
Let's see, I was just looking at it. It's called delete product and listing.
Okay.
And the other one is just called close listing.
I got 2 emails this morning. I'm sorry, I'm sick. but one was from Amazon Mexico and the other from Amazon Canada.
Okay.
I always, when I do a shipment, I just make sure that those markets are not open. However, apparently I have some listing active, and I don't know. I went to each store, and my question is, if I just close that listing in Amazon Mexico, I mean, I don't want to make a mistake and close it in America. So
Mhm.
I don't know what to do, and I don't want to sell over there right now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so new.
I understand your concern because I had that concern at first too, but I am very clear and have done this many, many times. If you close or delete, and I would delete listings in Canada or Mexico, it does not delete them in the US. It doesn't
Okay.
delete them on any other platform. By the same token, if you delete them in the US, it doesn't delete them in Canada and Mexico. So if you have those other platforms open, make sure you go there and delete your items as well. IP claims can happen there at this as well.
Is there a way to just, I mean, to tell them I don't want to sell anymore
Yeah.
over there? Can I just get out from those markets?
Yeah, you can opt out of, it's called the
Okay.
North American Remote Fulfillment Program, NARF. So just search that in the search box in
Okay.
Seller Central, and it'll tell you how to opt out of that if you want to. Now you'll still,
Okay.
I would recommend that still for a few weeks you go and delete inventory in those because it takes a little bit for it to catch up. But then, yeah, I should stop listing those items in other platforms.
Okay.
Opt out.
Okay. Sounds good.
If we want to try to send an invoice in,
Mhm.
like, you know, a brand, you know, to get approved for it, is it better to just have an invoice with just the one thing with the count of 10 or more? Or can you have one that has that, but plus other items? Or does that confuse them?
I would think it shouldn't confuse them, but I always say make it as easy for them as possible. You know what I mean? Because they're busy, they're overworked and underpaid just like we are. So give them half a chance to get it right. Okay. I like to highlight, they have that list of things that they want they want you to do. Highlight every one of those things on your invoice before you send it in. Brian and I have only done that one time. Everything that we are ungated for it has been done naturally over time. They open those gates for you, and everything that we have except one thing early on, and then we ended up not ever really selling on that Brian just thought he had to have, and then it just wasn't worth it. So we do encourage people, if you have enough time and sales and happy customers, Amazon's going to start opening those for you. But if you do that, I believe if you just search Ungated in the My Silent Team Facebook group, there's a lot more information about that ungating.
I don't know if I learned this from you, Robin, or who, but
I didn't do it.
going probably, yeah. Going to your ad product page, if you just type in a brand or you see something on Amazon, you add Crocs or whatever it might be, or Adidas,
Right.
something, whatever it might be. And then you'll know pretty quickly if you're going to be approved to sell that or not. And if you just go down a list and keep a list of stuff that you're able to sell, you don't really need to worry about all the receipts and the invoices and the ungated stuff. Like you said, Robin, that'll happen naturally as you sell more. You'll be ungated naturally. But like there's so much stuff out there that you can sell that you don't need to worry about, in my opinion, having those invoices, buying 10 or however many of anything and proving that you did it from a legitimate seller. In my opinion, that's overkill when there's so much out there that's available to sell without
I tend to
giving
agree with
yourself
you,
an extra
Brian.
headache.
I tend to agree with you. Until you've exhausted what's available to you, there's no reason to go further. I'm a very methodical person, so I go and exhaust everything that is available to me. I exhaust a source sometimes. I'll say, okay, what all can I do? What all can I resell from Home Depot, for instance? And I'm going to spend weeks, just seeing if there's an ASIN for any listing that they have in building, kind of building my information. That's your business intelligence. That's your work that you own. And that's valuable stuff. Do not take that lightly. That's valuable stuff. That takes a lot of time and effort to find that information, even if it's not something you want to test. The connection between the source and an ASIN and knowing where that is and when that is valuable stuff. Andrew, you got your hand up. What can we do for you?
Hi, Robin.
Hey
Nice
there.
to speak with you. I don't say too much too often, but I just wanted to add to about ungating because I had this experience during Q4. I
Oh,
was in I'm in Canada, so I was at the dollar store, Dollarama. There was this novelty mug that was on the shelf. I was gated for,
uh-huh,
and it had such a nice profit. I didn't have a receipt or anything. I didn't purchase it, so I took a photo of the aisle with the sticker price, and then I
uh-huh.
also took a photo of the storefront, and I submitted that to Amazon. And I told them in the notes, this is a one-off item. I don't see so much history on Keepa. It hasn't sold in the last 3-4 years.
Uh-huh.
Can I just sell it because it's here, it's a legitimate store? And I put that in the comment, submitted it, and about an hour later they allowed me to sell it.
Interesting.
So the answer is always no unless you ask.
This is true. This is true. I wouldn't expect that would happen. In fact, I've never heard of that happening before. But yeah, thanks for sharing that because you're absolutely right. The answer is always no unless you ask. The thing that I don't want you to get tied up in is the time to go find an invoice and find a source that has that kind of invoice. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks for sharing that. Let's just talk real quickly about what that means to be ungated. Those Amazon restricts new sellers to just a few categories, right? Usually office products, home and kitchen, arts and crafts, and pet supplies, but not the pet food, just the pet supplies. And there might be some other ones if you check, but you're kind of limited in the beginning because Amazon doesn't know you from anybody, right? And there are all kinds. I know you're a good guy and you're planning on doing this right, but Amazon doesn't know that. They don't know you, and they've got people who are trying to scam them all the time, right? So they have some rules in place, and they're going to limit you at first until you show them, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to get in trouble here. Your customers, Amazon's customers are going to be taken care of. So that's why they do that, I think. And they do give you a chance in some of those brands. Just because you're approved in that category doesn't mean you're approved in every brand in that category. And vice versa. You may get approved for the brand and not the category. But each item has a brand and a category, and you must be approved in both in order to sell on that ASIN, right? So you'll get one of several things, either no restrictions at all, and you can just sell that ASIN, or it'll say there are restrictions on here, apply to sell. When you apply, and it'll tell you in the upper right-hand corner what you're applying for, whether it's the brand or the category or both. And then you'll get several different answers. Either, in the best case scenario, they say, congratulations, you're approved to sell. And then you're approved to sell that item. Next thing they'll have is watch this video and answer these questions. And then you'll be approved to sell. Those are both perfectly fine. Don't take a whole lot of extra time. And you can, get some things opened up in the beginning that way. The third one is that thing where it asks you for an invoice with certain requirements from a distributor or manufacturer of that program. So usually, like a Walmart receipt doesn't work. Usually, a picture of the aisle doesn't work. But again, it has been known to work. That's not really what they're asking for. So when you come across that, I usually recommend that people move on and find all that they are already approved for, and then come back to those things later on, if they don't start getting opened up after they've gone through that first, exhaustion of what they're approved to sell. So that's kind of what we're talking about, just to make sure everybody has an understanding of what we're talking about when we say ungating or restrictions on ASINs. Yeah, Amazon lifts those restrictions as long as you're over time. Now, remember, there's a correlation between how much you sell regularly and when they're going to start lifting those restrictions over time and sales. But those, you can't have, 20 sales today and then 6 months later have 10 sales and then they're going to lift restrictions. That's probably not going to be the case, right? Could be, but the best way is to have regular sales every month, and that's the best way to make profits and make it worth it as well. All right, everybody, thanks so much for coming and participating and asking questions. When you ask a question, it's helpful for everybody. So we really appreciate that. Really glad to talk to you guys. Thanks for sharing your experiences and have a great week. All right, good talking to y'all. Bye-bye now.